The following video contains spoilers. We suggest watching the episodes alone in the dark.
Hello, Wolfpack! We're back, and today we take on another special request of a fan-favorite episode of the hit horror series R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour. Today's story is, unfortunately, another episode that everyone loves, except for me. Yeah, it's going to be another one of those reviews, people. I'll be blunt and say it. I hate this episode. I really hate this episode. It has a fantastic villain and an interesting concept in it, but for me, it just crashed so hard. But we'll cross that bridge soon enough. On a positive note, this episode features a surprise guest star playing our main villain. Who, you ask? Why, our main antagonist, Mrs. Worthington, is played by none other than Margaret Kidder. That's right, the actress who played Lois Lane from the classic Superman movies and Kathy on the Amityville Horror Show is starring on The Haunting Hour as our monster of the week. No ordinary random object turn into your weekly nightmare fuel this time, but rather, this is a dark tale about an evil babysitter from hell. Sounds good, right? Well, we'll see. Before I start this review, I just have something very important to say first. Remember back on the My Robot review, where I said that pile of crap was the last episode written by Melody Fox? Well, I was wrong. That episode was not the last story written by Melody Fox. This one was. Melody Fox's true final episode on The Haunting Hour was Mrs. Worthington. For those of you who don't know, Melody Fox was once one of the best writers on The Haunting Hour, but somewhere down the line, the quality of her writing went severely downhill. Now believe me, I don't like bashing singled out writers in particular, I really don't, but Melody Fox is a different case. Occasionally, The Haunting Hour has had a bad episode every now and then, but thankfully, the series has a lot more awesome stories that totally eclipse their terrible ones. However, Melody Fox is the only writer on the show's staff that happens to have a lot of bad episodes under her belt. Now, it's not like all of them, but it's much more than what a writer would want to have blemishing their rap sheet. If you want to see Melody Fox at her best, then I'd strongly recommend Alien Candy, Black Mask, Lights Out, Bad Feng Shui, The Most Evil Sorcerer, Checking Out, and especially My Imaginary Friend. These were all of her best episodes, which are some of the best episodes of the series. Melody Fox is capable of writing phenomenal supernatural stories, but later she lost touch with her talent. Her worst episodes began to slowly rise up in late season 3. Episodes like Sans, My Robot, and of course, Mrs. Worthington. Her last few episodes might not seem that bad, but these were the stories she was starting to end her Haunting Hour tenure on. And I have to say that her later episodes were some of the worst I have ever seen. But I think that I figured out what Miss Fox's weakness is. Melody Fox is absolutely terrible at writing bully characters. You know how The Haunting Hour has the typical generic idiot bully cliche? Well, Melody Fox overdoses on these types of characters to incredibly cringe-inducing degrees. But wait, there's more! Today's episode is an anti-bullying story. So a writer who is completely horrible at writing bully characters is now going to write a cautionary tale on the horrors of bullying. Something tells me that this ain't going to be on par with Swarm and Norman levels of greatness. So let's just get this over with. Get nice and comfy, everyone, because we're about to begin. Was this episode a grand emotional experience that touched our hearts in a dark and twisted way? Or was it a pile of rubbish just as horrible as My Robot? Well, let's stop wasting time and find out. This is my review on, Mrs. Worthington.
Pull the trigger! Do it, motherfucker! Pull the trigger!
So our episode opens up with a shy little boy drawing some nice pictures while some whimsical music plays in the background. Okay, I'll admit that the music is a nice touch, but don't be fooled, everyone. It's a great opening for a terrible story to come. We meet our main character, Nate, played by the same kid who played Henry, aka Young Hank on Toy Train.
Henry! Oh my god!
But he's not the only Haunting Hour veteran returning to waste their acting talents when we see Nate going up to his big bully of a sister, Molly, to ask her for an eraser. Molly is played by none other than Emma Grabinski, who played Lauren on The Ghostly Stare, Audrey on A Creature Feature, and creepy girl Maggie on Terrible Love. And just like on Terrible Love, her character is just as nasty in this story. Molly is our generic idiot bully character of the day who acts like a complete jerk towards Nate when she insults him for no reason at all. Yeah, as you can guess, she's very easy to hate, which will make the way the story plays out a little weird. After Molly bullies her little brother, Nate tries to take an eraser from her desk, but the mom comes in when Molly starts crying at Nate for invading her personal space. Like a jerk, Molly frames Nate for ruining her homework to get him into trouble with their mom, and since the mother is an idiot, she of course falls for it and grounds Nate, telling him to clean her room.
Well, he's not going to do anything.
The mother is by far one of the worst characters in the entire series. If you can believe it or not, I honestly hate the idiot mother much, much more than I hate Molly. Yes, this character pissed me off so much that I actually hate her even more than the generic idiot bully. Not even 4 minutes in, and I already hate so much before the child-murdering psychopath even showed up. So yeah, the mother tells Nate he needs to clean up the mess that Molly made while his jerk sister insults him and kicks him out of her room? Wait a minute, the mother just punished Nate by having him clean up her room, but suddenly Molly kicks him out like she didn't hear him getting grounded and punished.
Great continuity!
I know this complaint might seem very nitpicky, but this really gives me the feeling that this entire story was done as a first draft. Don't believe me? Well, just keep watching. So after not cleaning up Molly's room like he was supposed to, Nate continues drawing and talking to himself like a crazy man, where we then see him talking to his waifu, Mrs. Worthington, as he hangs his OC's newest picture up with his secret collection of Molly torture porn. Our hero? Oh, by the way, we get a cute little joke where Molly is drawn as a pumpkin head in the dark torture porn montage, but spoiler alert, we never see Emma Grabinski becoming a pumpkin head. Wasted opportunity, Melody Fox. I would have loved to see the Haunting Hour confirming their shared universe more often. But thanks for reminding us that we could all be watching a good Haunting Hour episode instead of this one. So while Nate admires his personal fan art of his waifu/Molly torture porn, we also get a very suggestive line from our hero.
You punish her. I bet you punish her real good. Good night, everybody.
So are we supposed to like or fear Nate's psychological scars from bullying? No, really, it's not exactly made clear what Fox's intentions are with this scene. Now, I think we're supposed to feel sorry for Nate, but this one character trait will later cause an infinite number of problems in the plot later. Now, I want you all to remember this scene, because while Nate's serious psychological damage from getting bullied all his life might seem to make him a tragic character, it's also the biggest thing that will destroy this entire story. Later that day, while the two siblings try to eat, the mother comes in and says that she's going to be working late tonight. probably at that same hospital as Jared and Cynthia's mother, so that means she's leaving Molly in charge all night. This pisses off the kids a lot, so much that Molly punches Nate right in front of their mother.
Ow! She hit me!
I'm sure it was an accident.
What a bitch.
If you wanted to know why I absolutely hate the mother, well, there's your answer. The mother is your typical stupid, useless adult who does but nothing to help her innocent kid at all, and shows parental favoritism to the jerk bully because she's blind to reality. I hate the mother so much, and her incredibly brief moments in this episode gives me enough to fill up a whole video. She sees and hears Nate getting bullied right in front of her, and yet she still thinks that Molly is an angel, and Nate is a bad kid. Even if she doesn't notice her own daughter's obvious bullying behavior, she could at least try to bond with her broken son. But nope, screw showing concern for my son, let him go crazy locking himself up in the attic drawing torture porn of his sister getting murdered, and ignore his psychological issues from how horrible his bullying problem is. You see, parents, if you're too busy with work, then you're completely justified to ignore development problems with your kids. But hey, that's life, I guess. I hate this moron.
She hit me!
I'm sure it was an accident.
Later that night, Nate begins drawing some finishing touches on his waifu, but Molly comes up and begins bullying him. She pretty much threatens him to leave her alone all night and tries to convince Nate to tell their mom that they were friends for the day with no problems. But when Nate worries about lying to his mom, you know, the idiot who never listens to a word he says, Molly bullies him into agreeing with her lies by ruining her pencil. Really? Come on, Melody Fox. You had the idiot bullies on Alien Candy attempting to murder a kid. This was seriously the best you could do? Is this really the kind of bullying that warrants the kid going crazy? Then again, this writer also thought that we'd be scared of a robot crushing a soda can, so Melody Fox has no clue what scares the kids these days. But seriously, the bully shrinks Nate's pencil to emasculate him. Maybe I wasn't imagining the sexual undertones in this story. So Nate gives in to her demands, satisfying Molly, but the action of Molly shrinking Nate's pencil was the final straw, since now Nate wants some payback. Yes, seriously, the worst thing Molly could do to him, shredding his pencil, was so bad that he turns to his waifu's pictures and wishes that Mrs. Worthington was real, so she could punish Molly for all the horrible things she's done to him. And I guess a magic star was flying by, since of course his wish comes true, as we see when a spooky wind suddenly blows his new picture out the window. Yeah, just like that, this child's wish comes true, as we see when Mrs. Worthington enters the picture. I guess Nate stole Alan Miller's paintbrushes, because there is literally no explanation on how this child's wish came true. It's either a child wishing upon a magic star, Alan Miller's super paintbrushes, or Margaret Kidder broke down again.
We loved you in the Superman movies. You were just wonderful.
We then finally meet Mrs. Worthington, played by Margaret Kidder, in all her over-the-top glory, as she just walks into the door because, like an idiot, Molly assumes that the villain is a babysitter their mom hired. Yes, just let the obvious crazy person you know nothing about walk right into your home with no questions asked. What could possibly go wrong? Nate comes down and at long last meets his fictional character face to face, where we see Mrs. Worthington unloading all her torture gear as she tells Nate that she's here to make his wish come true. This leads us into another big problem. This episode completely copies and pastes both Uncle Howie and Wrong Number. The imaginary friend coming to life, avenging an innocent bully victim, the old lady ghost harassing a mean girl, tormenting a bad kid in an over-the-top fashion, all of it has been done before on 2 much better episodes. Oh, but this is different. This is the darker and edgier version of both those episodes. This is supposed to be Melody Fox writing a gray morality tale about how to stop bullying, and not be like those scary episodes, because as we all know, Wrong Number and Uncle Howie were never dark or edgy. I will admit that this scene where Mrs. Worthington shows off her creepy torture devices is pretty dark, since we see the villain showing her dark intentions, but it's kind of ruined when Nate realizes that Mrs. Worthington is going to do all the things she's done in his drawings to the real Molly.
No, don't do it. Don't do any of it.
Torture? I love it. Torture's great, isn't it?
Yep, Nate is actually shocked that the fictional character he created is going to live out his twisted revenge fantasies. Seeing that his Alan Miller brushes made his drawings come to life, Nate does a complete 180 and tells Mrs. Worthington to not harm his sister. I'm not even joking. Nate is now worried about Molly's safety despite all of his horrible abuse. Why?
Oh, it's not that bad. I exaggerated. Kids exaggerate, right?
Uh-huh. They do.
Exaggerate? You exaggerated? I call bullcrap. Nate has been constantly tormented by this girl to the point of gaining serious psychological scars from how bad his bullying is. But now, we're expected to believe that Nate cared for his sister deep down, despite the fact that this is exactly what he wished for. Nate wanted this to happen. There was no exaggeration. This whole kids exaggerate excuse makes it seem like Melody Fox thinks kids are stupid since children don't know what they say. While that might be true at times, there's no way you can work around the fact that Nate has been seriously scarred by his abuse and did mean every word he said about wishing Mrs. Worthington would come in to teach his jerk sister a lesson. Do I even need to say how insulting this is to serious bully victims or abused kids? Well, it is. However, our villain shows Nate some respect by saying that she'll agree to give Molly a chance by getting to know her at dinner to see if she's truly as good as he claims she is. Let me repeat that. Our villain has agreed to give a bully a chance to prove her innocence before deciding to go all psycho on her. That's actually kind of noble. Alright, I'm on board. The villain isn't just going to go on a killing spree yet. This does make Mrs. Worthington a pretty interesting villain. I dare say, likable. Though we still get kind of a weird reaction from Mrs. Worthington when she reads a book.
Ooh, here's a good one. Ooh, ooh.
What the heck was that about? Anyways, Nate runs to Molly's room to warn her to act nice to him for once, or else Mrs. Worthington will be pissed off. But like a jerk, Molly continues to act cruel to him and completely ignores his warnings. Remind me, am I supposed to care for this girl? If so, then the show is doing a really bad job at it. So Mrs. Worthington serves them dinner, and while Nate tries to convince his divine punisher that Molly is good deep down, Molly naturally acts like an obnoxious jerk and bullies Nate right in front of the woman who she thinks is a babysitter.
What a bitch.
Okay, why is Nate trying to save this girl? At this point, I'm wondering why she isn't dead yet. So Mrs. Worthington gets annoyed by Molly, like me, and we get a really funny scene where she scares away Molly.
It's tragic to have a brother who's such a little weirdo.
You turned your sister's food into eyeballs?
Well, I hope they're tender enough.
Are you crazy? That's gross.
Ew, I think I'm gonna hurl. I can't believe you did that, Mrs. Worthington. Thank you so much.
Oh, what? Am I supposed to want Molly to live after she casually bullies her little brother and scarred him for life? Molly runs away like the wuss that she is, and Mrs. Worthington jokes about poisoning her. Nate tries to get Mrs. Worthington to leave, but she tells him that she can't go because her work isn't done just yet. You know, when you really think about it, where does Mrs. Worthington have to go? What is she going to do with her life now that she's spontaneously gone from being a drawing into a real person? Technically, Mrs. Worthington is Nate's daughter, or at least his responsibility. He created her and brought her into this world, and now her only purpose in life is to be there for her creator. Come to think of it, Mrs. Worthington could be one of the most tragic characters of all time. She has no life or purpose outside of what her creator desires her to do. She's the living embodiment of a child's hatred for bullies. She loves and cares for Nate and will do anything to keep him safe and happy. Mrs. Worthington is a tragic villain with a ton of complexity. I think she could really turn this story around if she was actually the main focus. I know that Nate is technically our true protagonist, but Mrs. Worthington is just as interesting as he is. All she can think about is torture, because that's what her creator designed her to do. She protects him by tormenting Molly exactly like how his awful sister did to him for Lord knows how long. So is Nate going to connect with his surrogate daughter and protect her by warning her of how the world is not a black and white place, or how killing Molly is not the moral thing to do? Nope. Instead, Nate treats Mrs. Worthington like an irredeemable freak and tries to keep his abusive sister safe from her wrath, never once explaining to his creation how the world actually works. You know, a part of me hoped that the twist would be that Mrs. Worthington was Nate's real mother, but that theory was thrown out the window when it became obvious how Nate inherited his idiot mother's neglectful parenting. So yes, instead of rationalizing things with his creation Mrs. Worthington, Nate instead tries to warn his sister to calm down. But Molly is an idiot and still ignores him. Oh, but it gets better. Instead of calling the police about the crazy woman breaking into her home and force-feeding her eyeballs, she calls her mommy to cry about how mean the babysitter is. But it turns out that her mother didn't get her call at all, as we see that Mrs. Worthington has somehow hacked the phone line and is trolling Molly.
Mom, hi. You have to come home. This babysitter is bizarre.
Slow down, Molly. What are you talking about?
She fed us eyeballs for dinner. Eyeballs! Mom?
Yes, I'm here. I heard you. Did it ever occur to you, sweetheart, that maybe you deserve to eat eyeballs?
Wait, what?
Oh, sweetheart, you're the most unkind person I've ever known. If your appearance on the outside matched the ugly person you are on the inside, you'd be covered in oils and pus.
So literally after 1 minute on the phone, Molly realizes that this isn't her mother, and she actually has to put it together that Mrs. Worthington is evil. Yeah, Molly is really slow on the uptake. So like a moron, Molly goes to confront Mrs. Worthington on how evil she is, but Mrs. Worthington responds by dropping a scorpion on the idiot's head.
Don't move.
Yes, yes, exterminate the stupid human, my insect warrior. Naturally, Molly gets scared by the scorpion and runs away to go upstairs and cry in her room. Okay, girl, why haven't you run out of the freaking house yet? This character is so stupid. But if you can believe it or not, she gets even worse. Meanwhile, downstairs, Mrs. Worthington tells Nate that she still has big plans for Molly as she shows him something that she's made.
Isn't that cute?
Kind of looks like Molly.
Wait, what? No, it doesn't. That stupid doll doesn't look anything like Molly. Seriously, this is the best design the props department could do on this voodoo doll? Tell me, folks, does that thing look even remotely like Emma Grabinski? I mean, come on, you couldn't have at least given it blonde hair or make it look like a girl? You people once built a perfect model train set of a peaceful farm town. I don't think that it's asking too much to have a doll dressed like Emma Grabinski. So Mrs. Worthington decides to show Nate what this cool doll could do, while they both trail the idiot bully. We see that instead of running outside to get help like any smart person would do, Molly stupidly hides upstairs in the attic, only to find Nate's torture porn collection of her getting assaulted by his waifu. Unfortunately, Mrs. Worthington corners the girl and tells Molly that she'll stop harassing her if the bully apologizes to Nate for everything she's done.
What do you want from me? Well, I would like you to apologize to your brother Nate for destroying his art pencils.
No.
Yes, everyone. After everything Molly's done, after getting briefly scared straight by an insane villain, after literally coming face to face with a psychopath who's threatening to kill her if she doesn't apologize to her brother, what does she do? She says no. Ignoring how blatantly stupid Molly is, this shows us concrete proof that our sympathetic bully is a worse person than the villain. I'm not even kidding. The villain has been more reasonable than Molly ever has. I don't care for this girl at all. I know I said I hate the mother even more, but Molly is just as bad and just as unlikable by this point. I don't care what happens to this girl. Melody Fox managed to make a character, a child character, beyond hateable. So, unsurprisingly, Mrs. Worthington punishes our idiot Molly by...
How about that?
Stop it!
It's crazy.
Speed knitting. Speed knitting. Speed knitting. No. No, no. This can't be real. This can't be happening. I'm honestly watching a show that includes speed knitting. The same show that brought us the nightmare fuel of the Dreamcatcher, the deep emotional moments of Toy Train, the hilarity of Uncle Howie, has now brought us speed knitting. Speed knitting. Why Haunting Hour? Why?
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. In the outside world, I'm an ordinary forensic scientist, but secretly, with the help of my friends at Star Labs, I fight crime and find other metahumans like me. I am the Flash.
So after, speed knitting, Molly is magically tied up by yarn, and thankfully gets her mouth zipped shut as she's left for dead in the attic to starve, where I hope Mrs. Worthington goes all Joker on her butt with the crowbar.
Something I almost forgot.
no, trust me, that would have been the happy ending. Instead, this episode wants to go on to make things even worse. Yes, speed knitting was not the worst part of this episode. Sure, that's the point where the story gets incredibly stupid, but not the part where things get worse. So after the satisfying Molly torture scene, we cut to Nate telling Mrs. Worthington that she's gone way too far, and that they need to let Molly go because he's still deluded into thinking that his abusive sister is innocent. However, Mrs. Worthington actually gives a pretty good counter-argument.
I'm sure she's sorry. She is sorry because she's been punished. She is not sorry for anything that she did to you. I have never, ever seen a young woman who's so rude.
Oh my gosh, Mrs. Worthington is right. I'm not even kidding. Mrs. Worthington, the villain, is absolutely right. Molly isn't sorry for what she's done. Heck, when Mrs. Worthington asked her to say sorry to Nate, the idiot bully refused to do that. Molly is not sorry for her actions. Molly is only upset because she's the one being bullied for once. True, Mrs. Worthington is going a bit far, but the villain warned her to comply so she wouldn't have to go all Dungeon Master on her. Molly has seen all the crazy stuff Mrs. Worthington has been doing and knows that she picks on Nate to the point that she's caused serious psychological damage to him. But instead of trying to atone for her actions, she slaps all attempts at redemption away. Molly is a terrible person. She deserves what's happened to her. She isn't sorry for Nate. Mrs. Worthington is 100% justified to punish Molly for being so awful because the sister's actions have harmed her creator so much. The villain is in the right. I'm serious. I feel that Mrs. Worthington, the villain, is more noble and rational than that idiot Molly. Mrs. Worthington is the hero of the story. That's how bad Molly is, people. The child-torturing psychopath is more lovable and complex than the tragic bully character. Oh, by the way, Nate has no defending response for his sister's honor either. He seriously never gives a counter-argument to the villain claiming that Molly's only sorry for getting punished and not that she's nice deep down. Oh, but then Mrs. Worthington reveals that she also plans to punish Nate's horrible mother too. How does this go?
Parents should be ashamed. They should be punished too.
You mean my mom?
But she didn't do anything. Exactly. She let Molly torment you.
Again, Mrs. Worthington is right. Nate's mother is also an awful person. The mother is a horrible parent who has done nothing to help her son get over his bullying problem. All the mother has done is stand by as both her children's lives have gone to hell. When you really think about it, the mother is the cause behind all of Nate and Molly's problems. If she stepped in and did some actual parenting, then Molly would not have been an immoral jerk bully, and Nate wouldn't have been traumatized by his years of psychological abuse. Heck, Mrs. Worthington probably wouldn't even have shown up if the mother was actually concerned about raising her kids. The mother is a horrible person who deserves to be punished just as much, if not more, than Molly does. But nope, we never see the mother face any consequences for her actions. The mother never gets punished in the story at all for neglecting her kids and ignoring their serious social problems, which only increases her position as one of the worst parents on an R.L. Stine story. I'm seriously considering a video detailing the worst parents on The Haunting Hour at this point, but I just need 2 more bad parents. 2 more and it's set. But getting back on track, the villain is completely in the right to call out Molly and idiot mother for causing all of Nate's problems in the first place. So is Nate going to finally take responsibility for the being he's created and teach our noble villain important lessons on the difference between right and wrong? No, of course not. Instead, Nate makes no further case to defend his abusive family's honor and just views Mrs. Worthington, the one person in his life who defended him, as an irredeemable monster who is against him. Mrs. Worthington and the Teen Titans will be right back.